So I'm going to share with you my astrology story, all of the resources that I used to learn astrology, why I switched from modern astrology to traditional astrology, how I became a certified astrologer, how I became a full-time astrologer. In 2019, I did not even know that there was such thing as a rising sign. Like, I didn't even know there was such thing as a moon sign. I think it was like Stargirl or something on YouTube who like enlightened me that there was more to astrology than just your sun sign. So of course I found my full chart and I was so fascinated I wanted to learn more. So right around September of 2019 I found this YouTube channel called Canary Quill Astrology, and that's where I got like my foundational astrology knowledge from. I learned about all of the planets, all of the signs, and all of the houses from her channel. And I took that very basic information and I started to interpret my chart, and I also started to interpret my friends' charts. And I just ended up really having a knack for it. I wanted to get more practice, so I opened a Tumblr account and I started offering free readings on Tumblr because I wanted to get more practice. And the response on Tumblr completely exceeded my expectations. There were so many people that said the readings I gave them were accurate, and there were so many people that wanted readings. I couldn't keep up with it. So that's when I decided to open up a business. I opened up an Etsy shop and I charged like $5 for like a full birth chart reading. So I just started getting more experience with reading charts and seeing the symbols and seeing how the symbols play out in people's real lives. So come like the fall of 2019, I opened up this YouTube channel and I started posting astrology videos on here. I started buying astrology books. I started reading astrology blogs online. Like, it was awesome. This was something that I just seemed to have a natural talent for. And I think this is because of my disposition to be good with numbers and patterns and symbols. Math was my best and my favorite subject in school. Good at predicting what was going to happen next based on what happened before. You know, good at balancing equations, you know, opposites, categories, you know, grouping things together, finding common denominators. I had a lot of pattern recognition skills, which is why astrology came so natural to me. Of 2020 is when I started to ask questions. That's when I noticed that there was a lot of holes that I just couldn't find the answers to. I was running into a lot of inconsistencies, like things that just didn't make any sense. And I specifically remember it was Aquarius. I could not understand how Aquarius was this erratic and unpredictable sign when it was also a fixed sign. Those two things just seemed to be opposites to me, like they didn't make sense. That's when I started looking for answers. And after doing some digging, I found this really obscure website where the guy said Aquarius is not ruled by Uranus, it's ruled by Saturn. And I was like, duh, oh my gosh, of course it is. Like, it all just made sense in that moment. The guy had a book, so I bought his book. I think it's called The Real Astrology. This guy was a traditional astrologer, but I did not know traditional astrology existed at the time, so it was kind of hard for me to understand his book. But that was like my first introduction to traditional astrology. Now fast forward to like March of 2020, that's like when the lockdowns were happening. I discovered Marin Altman's YouTube channel. Now at that time I was feeling very confident about myself as an astrologer and my skills. But Marin just completely changed things for me. I mean, she was saying words that I had never even heard before. In all of my astrology books, right? In all of the websites that I used to find astrology, I had never heard these words before. Like, she was saying Kazemi, and I was like, what is that? She called herself a Hellenistic astrologer, and I had no idea what that was, never heard of it before. But I followed her recommendations, and I ended up on the Astrology Podcast. And I spent the spring and the summer of 2020 listening to so much astrology podcast content. That's where I learned about traditional astrology. That is where I learned about the differences between traditional and modern astrology. Because at the beginning of my astrology journey, I did not even know I was doing modern astrology. I didn't even know that there were like different categories of this. So when I found out about traditional astrology and like its teachings, I was like, oh my gosh, here are the answers to the holes and the questions and the inconsistencies that I've been dealing with. Marin Altman recommended that I check out an astrologer named Adam Elenbaas, and he became my teacher. He owns a school called Nightlight Astrology, where he teaches Hellenistic astrology. So in the fall of 2020, I signed up for his school, and it was just Oh my, it was everything. He gave me a philosophical understanding of astrology that I had never known before. Not only did he teach me what these different symbols in astrology meant, but he taught me why they meant what they meant. He taught me a very foundational understanding of astrology that you cannot find anywhere in modern astrology. It doesn't exist. And I became a Hellenistic astrologer. I graduated and became certified in the fall of 2021. And in the fall of 2021, that is when I became active on TikTok. My TikTok did well from the very beginning, and I was getting a lot of clients. Like, a lot of people were finding me. And I think what really attracted people to my account is that I'm always challenging stereotypes. My business was doing so well that in March of 2022, I decided to quit I worked at Target. So I decided to quit Target and do astrology full time. Now, as of right now, November of 2022, I am enrolled in 2 astrology schools. I am enrolled in Nightlight Astrology, getting my year 2 certification, and I am enrolled in the School of Traditional Astrology to get my horary certification. Now, there's a ton of books that I read along the way, and I will leave those in the description. I think one thing that shocks a lot of people is that I've only been doing this for 3 years. And sometimes that shocks me too, like, dead ass. I literally did not know what Scorpio was in 2019. And I get people commenting saying, I've been studying astrology for 5, 6, 7, 8 years, and I can't wait until I get as good as you. And it's like, you don't have to study astrology for a long time to become good, right? And it's not about how long you've been studying, it's about the quality of your study, right? Like, you could study history for like 10 years, but if you're reading from a bad history book, you're not really going to learn much. Like, learning the foundations of astrology, the logic that holds it all together, fucking game changer. Not to mention, I literally spent every single day thinking about astrology. Even when I was at work, even when I was at Target, I was thinking about astrology. I was listening to the astrology podcast while I was working. Like, I did not stop. I listened to the astrology podcast when I was going to bed, like when I was washing my hair. Like, I did not stop. And I'm also just naturally gifted at pattern recognition. So these are all things that came pretty easy to me. I think anybody can study astrology. It's just about finding the right teacher and obviously learning traditional astrology. Okay, bye.